Hello, everybody, and welcome on into Sidelines, presented by Visit Potter Tioga. I'm your host, Drew Patrick, and this is our fall sports preview show. We talk cross country, we talk field hockey, we talk women's soccer on a jam-packed show. Should be a good one. Don't you go anywhere. Welcome back into Sidelines. Let's talk field hockey. As joining me at the desk, we have head coach Brittany Hansrote. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
I'm actually excited to be back.
So that's going to be the first thing. How good does it feel to be back and have a season coming up on the horizon here?
It's a lot of emotions, actually, and we were a team that was not able to compete in any manner last academic year. So our season was canceled, and then in the spring we weren't even able to scrimmage. So we were lucky we were able to have spring practices, and we had all of our team except for 3 that were with us in the spring. So we were able to accomplish a lot, but it's just not the same when you can't compete, can't get scrimmages in. So it was just eye-opening this fall going into, we've had 2 scrimmages so far, and realizing that how much work needs to be done, but it was also eye-opening to see where people are at, where players are at, and those who have the game sense, who don't, who are catching onto our system quickly and who aren't, et cetera. So it's been really enlightening in a lot of different ways this year.
So it's a unique scenario because of that. Your 2 classes, the freshman and sophomore classes, are coming in with no college experience, no collegiate experience, and this is a mammoth of a conference too to compete in. So how do you approach that, and how do you lean on some of the upperclassmen who do have, coming off of a playoff season experience, try to help motivate and teach the younger athletes?
Yeah, so we have 18 players that are in that boat. They haven't played a college game. So that's a lot. That's a lot of players. The upperclassmen have been really instrumental in keeping the level high. And so that's something that I've communicated with them, the captains in particular, is setting the example, setting the bar high, and letting those, I call them newbies for lack of a better term. That's actually, side note, been something that's been such a struggle, like on how you communicate to the team, because you're dealing with classes that it's not just freshmen and sophomores, they're all new. So, but at any rate, so yeah, I look to the older ones to really show the younger, newer ones, hey, this is the level we need to be at. This is the speed we need to be at. And so that's been one area that we try to really hit on and cover. And then I just keep hounding in the basic fundamentals, and then we'll do different game scenario type plays just to show them ball movement and movement in general off ball. That's been our biggest hurdle. And once we can get over that hurdle, then I think we'll be in a much better place to just continue building. I said to the team on Sunday after our scrimmage, I said, I'm looking down at a table and I see all these puzzle pieces. They're there. We just have to put the puzzle together. So the positive is that we have the talent on the team. We just got to put the puzzle piece together. And I honestly think that I'm not alone in this, but in this, I think so many teams are in the same exact situation.
So how do you then go about approach? You touched on it there, but how do you go about approaching that, especially in the couple scrimmages you have and some of the practices that you focus on trying to put together those puzzle pieces?
Yeah, so we're just really trying to work on collaborating as a group, keeping those upperclassmen who have the exposure and experience starting time or playing time in keeping the level high, setting the expectation, setting the standard. That means verbally and physically. I really hold them to a level and a standard to say, we need to show the younger ones this is what it needs to look like. And then with the younger ones, newer ones, I keep communicating to them about follow their lead, listen to them, and then also hold yourself and each other accountable too. I want them to feel like they can be communicating also. Because there's some that have caught on quicker than others to our style and our formation and all of that. So I'm like, okay, so you're here, now we need to get the others here too. So it's really just me keep hounding in those get our basic fundamentals right, passing, receiving, body positioning, off-ball movement, off-ball positioning, and then we just keep pushing with every little thing we do. And it's like so much repetition is basically what it comes down to. And then we just keep pushing, and it's gonna, more every day I see more and more people and things clicking, like the wheels are going.
So not to dwell on this, but obviously like since the last game, since the playoff game, the last game that you played, there's been 12 people who have graduated, whether that big class that year and then last year being last year, and how just academically successful too the last three were. It's a new team, and granted, every year you get a new team, but completely a new team and new things to focus on. So how do you gauge expectations early on in the season with this brand new team?
By continuously putting things in perspective for myself and trying to be, I'm a realist just outright in life, and that's a good thing, and then sometimes that can be a bad thing, right? So like I keep myself in check, and then whenever I see myself getting like carried away with a thought, I'm like, okay, put yourself back in perspective. Like COVID happened, everybody's in similar boats in one way, shape, or form, right? So that's like the first step. Get myself in check, hit a reset button, be like, okay, this is what you have, and you need to focus on that. And so I've kept myself grounded, and then with that, I have worked through the with Caitlin, my assistant Caitlin. We work together in separating out and then breaking it down with the particular players in terms of positions. We'll go through just showing them on like every which way we can. We've shown them film, we've shown them on whiteboard, we've shown them in person. So we're trying to tailor to all of the different ways that people learn, because that's another thing. You have to like figure out this new group of 18 players. How are they receptive and how do they learn? And then we switch gears over, and then on the field, we just continue doing what we need to do with the drills and skills and everything, and just keep pushing, like I said, the repetitive fundamentals on them. That's how we just keep moving forward.
So early in this preseason, what have been some of the things that have stood out to you, whether that's an individual or a style? What were some of those things that have caught your eye early?
Well, lots of different things. It's more like me realizing what's in place and what's not in place, really. If you're asking what's standing out in terms of good things, then I would say in the goalie world, we have a dynamic of three goalies that really have been pushing each other. That spot's technically wide open right now, and it has not been determined, okay, who's our starter? And they know that, and so they've been pushing each other in really great ways and being competitive. So that's a great dynamic, because two years ago, we only had the two goalies. And Brittany Ryan was, as you know, a two-time All-American. So I think the dynamic now is so different. It's the spot's open, so who wants it? So that area is really neat to see. And I like that. That's been really positive. And we also have our alum, Laura Lawson, who's back and helping with them a lot, and that's been great. And then shifting gears over into the dynamic that Coach Hoover and I have, that's like the best dynamic I've ever had, head coach with assistant coach, and I think that's really showing. We collaborate with each other well, and then we can separate well. And then getting her insight has been a really big positive this year. And then segueing onto the players, it's really neat to see how the junior class, who was freshmen 2 years ago, we have 3 that started in the playoffs, and then 2 additional that got in every game. So we have 5 veterans, I call it, and then others that saw time. And so it's really neat to see how they've grown as individuals and people and into leaders. And then into the younger ones, it's been really enlightening to see some younger players who are sticking out in a good way and quickly grasping on. And you can it's just like you can start to see this one gets on board, this one, and it's like you can see the collaboration really coming together. So I've been really impressed with I know I'm not talking as much skill related, but I've been really impressed with the behind the scenes, and that's going to show on the field.
And it's interesting because you mentioned, there's the junior class is your upper class, and,
right.
and the
it's
fact
weird.
that they didn't get that second year, because normally, freshman year, sophomore year, you get that time to learn, you get that time to make your mistakes, and this junior
Yeah.
class with no one in the senior class, you have, well, you're up. You have to take the big step. Has that been an easy transition or a difficult transition? What have you seen from those five?
It's been both. So for some, it comes more natural than others. We have 9 in that class. And then we have Morgan, who came on board with us this fall, who's a transfer, and she's technically in the junior class. So she's just learning the ropes, and everybody's been super welcoming on bringing her in, but then the other 9 who have been here from day one, some are still young-minded because it's the COVID. It just messes everything up. And then you have others who have really just taken that leadership role on. And so that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. It's just really interesting to see how these girls have been developed. And it's almost like you're hitting a fast-forward button in a lot of ways. Like, okay, you're a junior, you got to be here now. And it's like, but wait, last year didn't happen. And how do we navigate that? So it's just interesting to see. But I think we're in a good place because a lot of that, of the 9, those juniors, like 3 of them got selected captains. And so that's Hannah Meyer, Sarah Mae Rodell, and Olivia Wagner. So they have been instrumental and great, and they have transitioned in well. And so along with some of the others, so it's been just like really neat to see that they kind of did, and everyone else is going to end up following. So it just worked out really well for us.
So the first games of the season, a tournament with familiar opponents for you, maybe not for the team, but having that tournament at home, how much of a benefit will that be? And then let's let that lead into what are your expectations for the season?
Well, having the home opener is really neat because that weekend in itself generates so much excitement because that's just opening weekend in general and first real games that count for your record. And so I know our girls are looking forward to that weekend. Lots of families are going to be coming up. We're going to do a tailgate. So there's a lot of excitement generated around that. And then for us hosting, personally, it's nice because we're not on the road and it's just home field advantage and all that kind of stuff. So that piece is really good. It's going to be interesting to see, what we produce on the field. It's still early on though, so like people are still working out those kinks. Most teams are in the first couple games. You're still trying to just figure out those last components. So it'll be really nice to see what we produce on the field. But I will say, segueing into the expectation for the season, I think what's going to happen for this particular team is start to finish, you're going to see a totally different team by the end of the season because they're so young. And so I'm intrigued. I keep saying this to everybody who asks, like, I'm so intrigued. I would say, there's worries, there's excitement, there's all those emotions. But I think the thing that keeps sticking out is I'm just so intrigued to see what can we get out of this team this year? Because like I said earlier on, the puzzle pieces are there. How quickly can we put it together and what will we produce? So, and that's, I can't sit here and say, I know this is going to happen. I don't know. And so it kind of just makes it exciting to me.
It's the fun in coaching, absolutely. Yeah. Well, Coach, thank you so much for taking the time and stopping by.
All right, thanks for having me.
And Sidelines continues after this. Do not go anywhere. While this semester will look a little different,
we're taking steps to promote a safe campus environment and to help us return to normal faster. You'll notice students and employees wearing face masks that cover their nose and mouth in order to keep you safe. We ask that you do the same to protect your fellow Mounties. Face masks are required inside all campus buildings and should be worn when visiting locations outside of campus as well. Mounties, we're all in this together.
It's all part of Mother Nature's perfect blend, the keystone of the Keystone State. Visit Potter Tioga, a 2-county scenic outdoor haven conveniently located, yet worlds apart. A place where you can kick back, unwind, and forget about the pressures of life. Disconnect and reconnect with your friends, family, or even yourself while surrounded by nature's beauty. So start planning your adventures today at visitpottertioga.com.
And welcome back into Sidelines. Let's talk women's soccer as we have joining me at the desk Head Coach John Shaffer. Coach, thanks for taking the time.
Thanks so much for having me.
So, first of all, how good does it feel to be back and with games on the horizon here?
Oh my goodness, man. Having those butterflies again is such a good feeling. So excited to have the young women back on campus, to have a season, and to just be ready to rock and roll.
So it's an odd situation that we find ourselves in. Obviously with COVID, that's an understatement in itself, but the two younger class don't have game experience, and so having pretty much the largest freshman class that you could probably have as a coach, what are the challenges of that early in preseason?
Yeah, so the sophomore class this year was 14 strong. This year's freshman class is 11 strong. And so we got, ballpark 80% of the team or more that has no college playing experience. And so the challenges are just getting them to play with the speed of play, the intensity that's needed to play in the PSAC. But there's also just a youthful energy that you just want to let the women go out and play. And almost I don't want to scare them. I don't want to tell them about the big bad PSAC, and encourage them that it has to be faster, has to be more intense. But also, I want them to almost have that youthful naivete and go out there and shock the world.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is, this is not just a Mansfield boat that we're in with. This is every single team in the conference also in that boat where the training early on is really important to get these girls game ready. How important then is that senior class you have and those upperclassmen who do have that experience to helping you develop these young women?
Oh, so important. I mean, my senior captain, Meg Noon, and my senior goalie, Steph Moyer, they've been tremendous in terms of kind of setting a tone, setting expectations. I have 3 juniors on the roster, Gabby, Brooke, and Liv, and they've been great because they've experienced the PSAC season. They all had to play a ton as freshmen themselves, and so they've just been tremendous leaders in terms of on the field and off the field. I'm truly blessed to have them.
So what do you focus on? What are your things in practice and in training early on that you really want to focus on with this group?
Well, this doesn't go out to the whole PSAC, does it? No, I mean, there's not too many. No, there's no magic formula. I mean, really, it's intensity. It's an intensity and a focus. We want to try to keep the ball, possess the ball, defensive ideas, and then encouraging them to be brave and go score goals. But really, we've been letting them play a ton. That's been a big change in my kind of coaching ideology from previous preseasons is a little less technical training. We're going to save that for the spring season and let them play, let them compete, try to stoke that competitive fire, and just let them go out and play.
And also this year, you have a new assistant with you that has Ozzy added for you and for this group early?
Oh my goodness, this could be a separate segment, but he's been phenomenal. I mean, so he brings with him experience at Texas A&M, top 5 women's program in the country. He comes from working around the ownership group that owns the Washington Spirit of the NWSL and DC United and Loudoun United, the AAA soccer men's team. And so he's just brought with him a professionalism and some ideas. And especially we talk about letting the women play and stoking that competitive fire. He's brought ideas in and training ideas in to let them just go out and play and put them in different positions. And just a little bit of that worldly knowledge of, hey, Kelly O'Hare doesn't do that. And the girls are like, whoa. Women are like, whoa. That's not how Texas A&M does it. And so just little things like that. But he's also an amazing person. He 100% fits our culture of love, serve, grow. He's able to pull a young woman aside, and he knows how to challenge them. He knows how to encourage them. And so he really checks all the boxes and has just been phenomenal.
So I want that to lead, because you mentioned it, love, serve, grow. It's the words you guys live by for your team. What do you do to focus on those 3 aspects, and how important is that to you running your program?
Well, it's everything. It's everything. I mean, we have wristbands with it on as reminders. We have banners with them in my office, in the locker room. And we just address it daily. We address it daily. We talk, whether it's about, hey, how can you love your teammates? We'll have that conversation at the start of training. We'll talk about how can you serve your teammates. Monday, going into the first day of classes, we talked about how can we carry our core values into the campus and the community. You gotta love the people on your campus. Can you serve your campus? Grow academically. So we talk about it constantly, and then we try to live them out. We're in the process of creating our standards right now as a team, which will be based off of our core values. So it's really everything. It's everything. If I don't hold you accountable for something that happened, the conversation between the players and the coaching staff is are you really loving them? If I tell my recruits this, and it's kind of corny, but if I let my kids, Will and Mal, if I let them, watch TV and eat Doritos all day, am I really loving them? I'm giving them what they want, but I'm not really loving them. So it's kind of like that tough love is part of it as well. So we just try to talk about it a lot and then live it as much as we can.
And you touched it briefly, but early in the season, what has stood out to you from this group? Whether that's an individual or the group working together, what have been some of those things that you have seen that have really impressed you early on?
Well, first off, the team dynamic, the lack of clicks, the lack of clicks, and then the amazing group dynamic, the fact that at preseason meals, I would see upperclassmen eating with different underclassmen. I would see young women talking in different groups, and every day was a different group, and they seemed to be getting to know each other really well. We've been having one-on-one meetings this week and hearing about newfound friendships between upperclassmen who, hey, I really got to know so-and-so over the summer, or I really got to know so-and-so this week at preseason. And I'm like, really? And so just the team dynamic has been really special. It shows that the culture is really starting to take hold. And then on the pitch, it's just some really special individual players. We have some really special individual players who are game changers on the pitch. And I'm just really excited to see the team as a whole play and what they can do.
So it's interesting, especially with that team aspect. I don't want to say there's positives to COVID, because that was not at all. But like in the fact that everyone went through the same thing, how much of a benefit do you think that is, that there is that big elephant in the room common ground that these ladies have?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is the sophomores and the juniors and the seniors, but especially the group of 11 sophomores. They all had to go through a freshman year where they didn't get to play a game, but they were asked to train really hard. And that, I think, created a little bit of grit in them. And they've all had to go through it, and we know it's there. We know that every team in the PSAC, for the most part, is in the same boat of there's a lot of unknowns. And so we're just excited.
So, Coach, expectations for this season and goals for this season, what are those, and what do you expect from this group?
All right, before I jump to that, if I can, we had one of those, talking about that sophomore group. One of our sophomores, Maddie Reiner, had a bit of a medical emergency right before preseason. She's not able to be with us, so I just want to say, I'm thinking of you. We miss you. We can't wait to have you this spring semester, and we're playing for you this semester. So with that said, the expectations, just to be competitive. I mean, there's no secret about where the women's program's been, the struggles we've had, but we feel the momentum's changing. We want to be competitive. What that means, wins and losses, we really don't know. I don't like to put a number out there. We talk about controlling the controllables. We can go out and play a brilliant match and still lose. And so we just want to be competitive. We want to possess more of the ball. We want to be really frustrating to play against. Like, we want teams to be like, man, we have to play Mansfield today. If we can start to do those things, then I think it'll be a positive. And so really the expectation is just to compete every day and show growth, because it is such a young team. It is such a young team that can we show growth, and can we send our seniors out with the best season they had? If we can send the seniors out with the best season they've ever had and show growth, then we're going to check the season off as a positive.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for taking the time and joining me here.
Thank you so much.
And Sidelines continues after this. Do not go anywhere.
Pride and passion drives the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. From 55 NCAA championship teams, 294 individual national champs, and counting. Who's next? Make the PSAC yours. PSAC Proud is winning in athletics and in the classroom. Over 3,100 PSAC student athletes are honored as scholar athletes. It's a perfect mix of athletics and academics. It's time to make the PSAC yours.
While this semester will look a little different, we're taking steps to promote a safe campus environment and to help us return to normal faster. Please help us promote a safe campus by washing your hands with soap and warm water for at least 20 seconds. Use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer when soap and water are not available. Additional hand sanitizer stations are available throughout campus. Sanitation of high-touch areas around campus have been increased, and advanced cleaning techniques have been implemented to limit the risk of transmission. Remember to disinfect personal items like cell phones, computers, and workspaces often. Mounties, we're all in this together.
It's all part of Mother Nature's perfect blend, the keystone of the Keystone State. Visit Potter Tioga, a 2-county scenic outdoor haven conveniently located, yet worlds apart. A place where you can kick back, unwind, and forget about the pressures of life. Disconnect and reconnect with your friends, family, or even yourself while surrounded by nature's beauty. So start planning your adventures today at visitpottertioga.com.
Welcome back on into Sidelines. Let's talk cross country now, as we have joining me at the desk head coach Mike Rohl. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
You bet, anytime.
So last year was last year,
Yeah.
but it's an interesting thing for your returners looking forward to this year, because they had a championship race and they had an outdoor track season. So did you find that to be a huge benefit coming into back to the cross season, or how do you gauge that?
I don't really think having a cross-country race last year had any real bearing on what we were doing in track. I didn't specialize anything for the season, for that cross-country season. We just kind of went and did it one-off and got into our track season. So I think if anything at this point, what's happened is because we had a normal or nearly normal track season, that the kids just got back into the normal rhythm of outdoor track, summer training. Now we got back to a regular cross-country season, and I had to make, each team is always different, so we have a little bit different season plan than we've had in the past. Some of that is COVID related, and some of it is just kids being able to do the things that they needed to do, or not being able to do the things they're able to do, and just adjusting for them here now.
So yeah, I would love to talk about that. That you said this preseason has been a little different than what you've done in the past. What have been some of the things you've tried to focus on early?
So a lot of the kids, because of the COVID issues and economic issues, ended up working at least full-time, and some of them even 2 full-time jobs, because there was a need for employment. And let's face it, these kids are hardworking kids, and they'll take the opportunity to do that. So several of them weren't able to really train because of the economic impact. And then a few of them just had really unfortunate minor injuries starting out in the summer training that really delayed their ability to train. And so the bulk of the team really wasn't as fully prepared as teams in the past. And that happens with every cross-country team, that there's some individuals that come in because they just don't do their work. That's part of being a cross-country coach. This particular group, it really wasn't that they weren't prepared because they didn't do the work. They just weren't able to do some of the work they needed. So, after I evaluated where the majority of the team was, we decided we're going to focus more on a remedial type preseason, where we start out correcting their running technique. We've been working on that in practice, new kinds of drills, new activities, and then also making sure that we're very careful to not give them too much volume so that they end up getting hurt. Some of them are at pretty low volume right now. We need to have the opportunity to build that up over 14 weeks.
Yeah, so I want to talk about that, because a lot of times when people see cross country, they don't really think of how important the technique is and how important getting down that technique early is for you. So talk a little bit about why that is so important, to make sure that your athletes have the correct running technique to be able to be successful.
Well, the first thing that we talk about with cross-country running technique, and this transfers over into track too, is to land really on the ball of the foot to get a full use of the spike plate and the grip that's there. Landing heel toe, so landing heel toe also leads to stress injuries, shin injuries, and just poor performance because they're overstriding. If an athlete's landing on their heel, they're probably overstriding. And that's inefficient, and it's really bad on a cross-country course because you want to try to be as efficient as possible through the grass. The other part of it is that the technique that we talk about, the cue that we look for, is called, we say ankle over knee. So we're trying to pick the ankle up on a higher knee carriage. The Irish actually call it mud boggers. Because they talk about that high prancing style that the Irish runners will typically have, and they said it looks like somebody running through a mud bog. And that helps clear the grass, because if you're a heel striker, you have a low swing through, you're literally every stride passing through grass, which initially it doesn't seem like it would be that much, but over 8,000 steps, it's a lot. So that's where we're looking for. So it's primarily for speed development, efficiency, injury prevention, and then just good technique across a grass course.
So let's talk about this year's team. Let's start on the women's side. You have some key returners as well as some new faces. What do you expect, and what kind of has stood out early in the preseason with this women's team?
Well, with the returners, Carly got injured last spring right after being all conference. And that took her all the way until almost July to be healed again. And she's just starting to come back around to that level of training that she had prior to being all conference. So she's doing well. She's got a good attitude. She's a good leader for the women's team. And that's really helping. Anissa continued her track season through the spring. She hadn't had much. She had missed some time in the winter, and so she was still feeling pretty fresh. And of course, Anissa is much younger than everybody else. She came to high school. She came to college after graduating from high school in 3 years. So she's actually a year behind. So she's actually the age of a true freshman now, as opposed to a senior in high school. So she kept racing last spring, and she went to the Junior Olympics. She made it to the Junior Olympic Nationals, where she placed 8th. And so she's had a good summer. It's been medium level of training and developmentally appropriate. And so she's been running right with Carly. So that's a plus for the team. Tidra and Shelby both got hurt early in the summer in June. Tidra sprained a knee, basically running on chip and tar in her rural area. And she's been nursing that back, but she's starting now into the going into the third week to really start to come around. She'll be a valuable contributor. Shelby will as well. And then the 2 freshmen, Angelina Colin, who is a race walker, and she's one of the top 5 race walkers in the country, but she also runs. I had not anticipated her to be where she is, but she's running 3rd or I would say 4th or 5th on the team. She's actually going to contribute as a runner. It turns out that she's actually pretty tough and got a really excellent work ethic. I've been really pleased with that. And then Carrie, who's a local gal from Sayre, is coming along and really developing. She's got the ability to contribute. She just needs to learn to train a little bit more, and she's doing a really good job with that.
Yeah, and then we'll switch gears to the men's side, and it's a very young team that you have to work with. So Michael Grunden is back, and he was a Creed Award winner, has been a leader for this team. How important is his role going to be on the team to really help you develop this young team? One
of the things that Michael brings to it is the ability to communicate well with me and an understanding of the overall program. His physical abilities, he's not the best runner on the team, but he trains well, he loves what he does, he likes the program, and he's able to get the younger kids to get relaxed. And for whatever reason this year, they seemed very afraid of what college athletics was going to be like and what the jump was going to be like. They were really nervous. The men were, in particular, were really nervous about what the expectations would be. And despite the fact that, I reassured them and said, I'm not your typical coach. You're not going to get yelled at here. If you didn't do your work over the summer, we're going to work with you where you're at. And, we're going to take care of your health first. It didn't really relax them. I think it made it worse. But Michael was able to say, look, you guys, he may have sent you a letter saying, get your SWOL done or I'll kick you off the team. I didn't actually do that, but almost. SWOL, for anybody who doesn't know, is the physical paperwork that they have to do for their health. Anyways, yes. And he said he's never like that in practice. And I think it took about 10, 12 days for them to kind of realize that. But Michael helps keep them calm. And so he brings that broader understanding and communication to the younger kids.
So on that men's side, what are some of the things that you've noticed from them early here in the season?
David Wooten is as good as I thought he would be. He's leading the team right now. He trained very well over the summer. He had what you would expect for a good freshman summer coming in. And so he's off to a really good start. He's got a good attitude. He's a hard worker. Seth Neal is among the faster at the 800 of the kids coming in, and he's doing well. He has to develop some work capacity, but he's got the work ethic to do that. So he's just got to learn to handle the training a little bit more. And and the only way you can get them to handle the training is to not break them. So that's what we're being careful to do. And then Simon Richards, who kind of, I want to say, he had a lot of adaptation to do as a freshman. And, you know, he stuck with it. I kept with him. I kept encouraging him. And he had a really good summer, and he's looking really, really good. So I'm really pleased with that. Ben Chambers has recovered from his hip injury. He had torn labrum, but he's done the physical therapy, and he's recovered, and he's running better than he was before the hip injury. So, you know, we're looking okay with where they're at. They're going to be a good developmental group. So, and they're starting out with, let's fix our technique first and run right, and then we'll get fast. So that's a good attitude to have.
Should be good. Also, the first meet on the schedule, the friendly confines of Lambs Creek, having that home meet be the first meet. How will that help a young team like this, or on the women's side team, an experienced team, but still a relatively young team there too?
Well, that meet is a long time tradition now. I think 7 or 8 years with Bloomsburg. Both Coach Empey at Bloomsburg and I share similar beliefs about how a cross-country season should be run. We don't want to put the kids in a high-pressure situation, although on occasion, I think back to like 2013 with Jess Scordino and I can't remember I think her name was Danielle, but anyways, they ran 17:30. They ran out of their heads because, you know, that's what kids do sometimes. But we keep the environment low key. And we do that on purpose because it's just really, it's usually hot. It's usually early season. Maybe they've only been able to train for about 3 weeks. So to be able to do that at home gets them a chance to just focus on the race without having to focus on the travel. And it gets them a chance to run in front of friends, family, and hopefully other teams will come down to watch. It'll be the only event that we have this year. And it's the first one we've had since, I want to say 2018. Yeah, because we couldn't, I think 2018. So it's been almost 3 years. We couldn't have a course down there in it might be 2017, it might be 4 years. 1 year was the mosquito apocalypse. There was more mosquitoes down there than there were in the whole state of Florida. The next year was mud, and I think the next year was COVID, and then, so I don't know, I've lost track of the years now.
That's absolutely going to be good to be back down there.
We are in a good position with it. It took all summer long to get that course back into the shape that I wanted it into, and you know, I had a lot of fun with a zero-turn mower myself.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for taking the time and coming to talk with us about the team this year.
You bet, anytime.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot.
So Sidelines continues after this. Do not go anywhere.
While this semester will look a little different, we're taking steps to promote a safe campus environment and to help us return to normal faster. You'll notice students and employees wearing face masks that cover their nose and mouth in order to keep you safe. We ask that you do the same to protect your fellow Mounties. Face masks are required inside all campus buildings and should be worn when visiting locations outside of campus as well. Mounties, we're all in this together. While this semester will look a little different, we're taking steps to promote a safe campus environment and to help us return to normal faster. Please help us promote a safe campus by washing your hands with soap and warm water for at least 20 seconds. Use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer when soap and water are not available. Additional hand sanitizer stations are available throughout campus. Sanitation of high-touch areas around campus have been increased and advanced cleaning techniques have been implemented to limit the risk of transmission. Remember to disinfect personal items like cell phones, computers, and workspaces often. Mounties, we're all in this together.
Determination.
Dedication. Focus.
Inspiration. Motivation. Together.
We decide our reputation.
Till we've reached the peak. Peak mentality.
Peak mentality.
Peak mentality.
Peak mentality.
Peak mentality.
Peak mentality. Peak mentality. Peak mentality. Peak mentality. Peak mentality.
Peak mentality.
It's all part of Mother Nature's perfect blend, the keystone of the Keystone State. Visit Potter Tioga, a two-county scenic outdoor haven conveniently located, yet worlds apart. A place where you can kick back, unwind, and forget about the pressures of life. Disconnect and reconnect with your friends, family, or even yourself while surrounded by nature's beauty. So start planning your adventures today at visitpottertioga.com.
That's going to do it for this show, folks. To stay up to date on all things Mansfield Athletics, head over to GoMounties.com. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next week.